Is there an approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting and minutes from the last meeting?
Motion to approve the agenda and minutes.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. School committee chairperson comments. I don't think I have any. It's been a relatively calm week compared to past weeks, so that's good. Moving-
Question, do we have a note taker tonight or will she do it from video?
She's sick, so she's gonna do it from home.
Okay, perfect.
Yep, thank you for checking.
Yeah, so I wasn't gonna volunteer. But
Good
Thanks,
point.
Eric.
yeah.
And on to student comments.
Okay, yes, sorry, I was scrolling, that was fast, okay. I'm really excited. We have a new student representative. We have Kaylin Squires, who's our rep for the class of 2027, and will be joining Sean Bailey this year for giving student comments. We had a number of students who applied and interviewed last week, and we wish we had more tables to just, keep adding all of them, but Kaylin rose to the top. He's involved in a lot of activities, like I didn't write them all down, which I should have, but Best Buddies, working on building the essay tutoring program here, supporting incoming grade 9 students, vice president of DECA, and participating on many athletic teams as well. And I know I'm missing a lot because he talked about a lot. But welcome, we're really excited to have you joining Sean here. So I will hand it over to both of you for your comments.
All right, the first one was last week on the 22nd and 24th. And NIMLC had the pleasure of hosting representatives of Suffolk University and Merrimack College. During these visits, students in grades 10 through 12 had the chance to learn more about the schools and also get a feel for what applying might look like. Also on the 24th, we had the privilege of hosting 103 international fellows from the National Defense University. Students got the chance to learn from our guests, while also giving them a tour of the school and a little taste of what high school is like in America.
All right, and then happy homecoming week, everyone. So homecoming is this Saturday, and so we have a lot leading up to that. So we have some spirit days, we have like Generations Day, the classic pajama day, and then we'll wrap it up with School Spirit Day, where we'll have our pep rally on Friday. And then the Boosters Club is also going to be hosting a pasta dinner for us on Friday, and there's going to be a bunch of exciting athletic events all leading up to the dance on Saturday. And the theme is going to be a night in Paris. And also for the homecoming football game, it will also serve as the Best Buddies football game, where we're able to build awareness about Best Buddies' mission of including others. So students from the VISTA program and students in Best Buddies will get to run on the field and just get to cheer on the football team. So yeah.
Awesome. Week of good fun events.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments on the student updates? And I forgot we skipped community comments, so we'll go back to that. Are there any hands raised online? I don't see anybody, so. I see no hands raised. All right, then. Move on to superintendent and administrative report.
All right, thank you. The main focus of my report tonight is to present the district action plans for this school year. And up there, Sam. In your background notes, you received the whole spreadsheet that has all of our priorities, has our goals for the year. I'll be going over this, and then it has all of the various action steps. As he gets that on the screen, I want to first start by thanking the leadership team for all of the hard work they put into refining the action steps for this school year. We start to formulate ideas in the spring, and then we spend weekly meetings all throughout July. It culminates with some drafts at our retreat in August, and then the last month we've been having multiple meetings at leadership team meetings to do the finer refinements in the last few weeks. And what you'll see before you tonight is a result of all of their hard work, and I really thank them for that. As a reminder, we are in our third year of our 5-year strategic plan that we put forward. We are overarching strategic priorities remain the same. And every year, what we do is we build upon the action steps that are working towards those priorities each year. And you may see a lot of themes that are similar, but we have some that are new this year that we're going to share. I always like to include our theory of action, especially for those who aren't as familiar with our strategic plan and district plan. But in the end, if we meet our vision and our mission, we'll unleash the potential of each learner. And I got two of them right here, so I'm very excited. They're doing great things. But it's something that really drives the work that we do. If you go to the next slide, you're going to see something new here. I'll talk about that, and I kind of touched upon it a little bit in the last meeting, but we have our main strategic priority areas of deep learning, high quality curriculum and instruction, equity, diversity, inclusion, belonging, community support, and student performance. Student performance is new this year, and we decided that we wanted to focus in after looking at some of the data of our student performance gaps. And we wanted to make sure that we were able to have additional steps that really focused in on that. But also we looked at all of our strategic action steps that we had. And as a result, we wanted to make sure that we could tie as many of them back to supporting the student learning focus and progress. So if we go to the next slide. What I'm gonna do is go through each of the categories. I'm not gonna read everything because there are a lot of words on a few of these slides, but I'd like to give you a sense of what the overarching strategic priority was in the plan. So here we start with deeper learning, and we want our students to have relevant, future ready, and personally meaningful learning experiences. And you also, a lot of the work that we've had with Portugal learner competencies, you're going to find under deeper learning. This year, and one thing we are trying to do with our goals is, at least they've been a little bit kind of vague goals in the past. We're trying to make them a little bit more targeted as we work, which is hard to do when we're meeting so many strategic initiatives. But in some of the areas, you'll see they're a little bit more focused. I know you've had a lot of feedback over the years about how are you going to measure, what are the outcomes, what are the metrics. We're going to keep working on trying to deliver that in a way that is understandable for you and for the public. I know sometimes you can't measure the quality of some of the experiences that our students are having, but there are lots of ways that we can continue to measure and try to show our growth as well. And we'll continue to try to improve in that area. So with the deeper learning goal, we're looking to expand project-based learning and inquiry-oriented opportunities. That's something that we've been expanding throughout the years. You'll see a big focus on integrating community and business partnerships in some of our work. We've always done a little bit of that, but we definitely have more, I guess we're prioritizing in certain areas, really bringing in a lot more partners. And I think you'll be able to see the increase in impact on that. And we're also, because of the student learning goal, trying to focus on our instructional assessment strategies that are aligned to the POL and the ways that we can support deeper learning across all of our schools. And I will note a positive result of some of our work. Today, I was at we were invited. We were one of like 63 districts in the Commonwealth that were invited to Arlington for the press release, opportunity with the Commission of Education, because we, in math, in 3 of our grades, we are surpassing or met our pre-pandemic goals this year. Cheryl will do, the MCAS presentation, but the accountability results were released today to the state, and we were one of the few districts that were recognized. Part of that comes from our focus on curriculum instruction and deeper learning, and hopefully we'll continue to see those numbers improve over the years. So when you go to the next slide for the deeper learning action steps, this is the format I do for the whole presentation. I'm going to have the overarching priority, the goal for the year, and then a very quick summary of our action steps. And I don't want to go through all of the 50 action steps that are in the whole plan, but I'll try to touch upon a few that might, I don't know if you had a chance to read through them, but I can answer questions later. We continue with project-based learning. We had the deeper learning framework last year. We're trying to build it out a little bit more each year and have a toolkit with each of our schools working on the elements of that toolkit. We're looking to expand PBL, math, and Project Lead the Way in additional grades from where they were last year at the middle and elementary school. Last year, we had this amazing opportunity for a free showcase for the 1-8 Foundation. And we had students present to parents. I know some of you had the opportunity to do that. What we want to do is bring in more professional partners to support that this year. On one of our Inspired Learning Days, it's going to be career focused, and we're going to be matching up lots of partners for that. And we're also looking in some of our curriculum reviews around digital learning, bringing in partners. School schedule work still continues from last year. And to be honest, they keep going. It may not be wrapped up in one little bow at the end of this year, but we're still working towards what kind of improvements we can make. Work-based learning, we were just talking about this in the policy meeting. What a MyCap is, we have it at the high school. We do not have it at the middle school, but we are going to be shifting from Naviance to School Links, this program, and Brian, when he comes, will tell you more about it, and the counselors can speak to it as well as we get to use it a little bit more frequently. But there's lots of career interests matching that take place within that software that we're excited about for some work-based learning. With Frank on board as Director of Student Support, what's been nice is he, in his review of all of our programs across the district, he's keeps seeing different opportunities for growth, and you'll see some of them in here. One's about, we have great internship opportunities right now for our students in the 1822 year program, but we're looking to expand those opportunities both in district and out of district, and that's one of our action steps. Let's see, anything else? And we have with higher ed, the ICP, innovative career pathways that we're expanding to health and environmental this year, and also trying to grow a partnership with ClinSig for early college. And then alternative measures, we're always looking at student-led conferences and showcases. All right, I'm going to try to do better not to read all of them off next time.
What's 18-22 mean?
Yeah, so that for our students with special needs who stay on in the 18 and 22-year-old program.
I got it.
Yeah, they are able to, we're expanding the number of workplace experiences that
Got
they
it.
have.
Okay, thank you,
It
sorry.
was hard for me to fit all of what was on all those pages into one slide. So feel free to, if my shorthand doesn't work, let me know.
So just one,
Sure.
regarding the MyCap expansion to middle school,
Mhm.
I'm just looking at the actual Excel or whatever it is, Google Sheets thing here. 100% of students onboarded and completed self-discovery, complete career planning activities. So we're already starting career planning activities for middle schoolers. Is that my
We will be, yes, that would be an outcome that they'd all,
the goal of directing them to specific coursework at that point, or are we?
no,
is
it's
it
like
just-
explored for. So imagine in the past, like years ago, we used Thrively. We tried that out. We ended up not keeping that as a software program. And you would go in and be able to say, these are my strengths, like in elementary. And then it was, well, if those are your strengths, what kind of careers do you want? You do a career interest survey, and in there, well, School Links has those types of career interest surveys in there. And when we were just talking about that policy that we'll talk about later, we need to start exposing, and they're actually going to be expanding MyCap. I just read it today down to like K-5 at some point, of starting to build this knowledge base for students. Any questions on deeper learning? Yeah.
Just since we're talking about MyCap, in your spreadsheet, it says to the 100% of students on grade 5/7 through 12. Is that, what is that? There's no grade 6 or 5. I don't understand like what.
It's in here.
Yeah, just in the outcomes and outcomes.
Priority 1.5.
The MyCap.
What happened to this?
Well, I don't know, that's what I'm asking. Is it a typo or is it, are you just not understanding what it means?
We can always assume it's a typo based off of my eyesight these days.
You can assume that if it's not, like, if there's not a clear, like, something else.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why it says grade 5. Maybe I didn't put that one in. I can get back to you on that. The good news is I can edit that.
But I like the granularity of review.
That's good. Good question, but yeah, I'll get back to you on that. Any other questions on deeper learning? other than typos?
So the Applied Learning Leadership Institute, could you just tell me again what our relationship is with them and how they're supporting us? Or are we a member of that now or don't remember?
That's a great question. We love to talk about it, and you have some principals who can speak to it later too.
Cool.
But we have 1/8 Foundation is a grant organization, and they fund a number of programs for leaders, for schools, for software or curriculum, and funding in order to get what they know to be best practices working and running in schools. We usually sign up for most of what they do. We get a lot of support, and they had this ally program.
Okay.
They reached out, thought we would be a good school to engage in that. And a couple of years ago, we started that at Nipmuc, and now we're doing it in a lot of their work. They have created the authenticity protocol work that they present on, and I know they'll speak more to it today when they get into their improvement plans. A lot of that work is supported by this network of schools, but it's expanded to the middle school. So now the middle school's working around collaboration and discourse. So when we showed the cards for collaboration discourse, and they just did at a faculty meeting for different roles and modeling it, they're starting year 2 now.
Okay, cool.
They haven't done it in elementary yet, but we keep asking them for us to do a test case and they'll do it. Okay, all right. So high quality curriculum and instruction. I'm going to jump right into the next slide around the goal. We're looking to really focus on expanding our MTSS systems. We're looking to always improve our data-driven instruction and you'll keep hearing high quality instructional materials or high quality curriculum means they're research-based or evidence-based. Almost every memo I send you, you hear updates, for example, from Cheryl on what they're working on the ELA group, K-8. You'll hear about curriculum reviews, and then we're looking to see what materials we can improve. So we have the OA system, which is part of this, and they're looking to make some improvements for monitoring our student progress and ways to maybe track interventions, analyze some of our performance gaps. And we have to focus on the instructional materials and the consistent use of data inquiry cycles. So every year we're building upon that and trying to develop the skills of our staff. So if we jump into some of the action steps, we've been using some of the data inquiry cycles for the last few years and shared resources with you, shared resources with them. We're going to do internal evaluation to see, how are we doing? What are additional resources that our teachers may still need in order to make good use of that? We already talked about the HQIMs for the ELA K-8. Because our student learning and student performance goal is related to ELA, one thing that we thought would be helpful when we started some work on that is trying to get a sense of writing across the whole district and do an assessment inventory to see where we're at with writing. What we're discovering is when you can expose teachers in the middle school and they see, or let's say 4th grade, and they see what 2nd graders can, after lots of work with them, can do, they go, oh, wow, they can write that much. We're showing some connections to focus on writing. Instructional coaching. We are going to be building out UDL strategies to support deeper learning elements. And Cheryl will be providing some PD on how do you assess school improvement cycles and try to work with some of our teacher leaders on that. We are hoping to give additional resources for interventions and extensions. And with Frank on board, we're doing some calibration on IEP goals and trying to make them more measurable and impactful. And finally, we are starting with our EL services. We're going to work on some goals and visioning and around service delivery there with Cheryl, and the curriculum review. Ryan's leading some of those curriculum reviews in science and digital, computer science, digital literacy, and technology. Questions on that?
The shared platform, that's open architects you guys are using for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Other questions? Otherwise, I can keep going. So the third category is equity, inclusion, and well-being. you always hear us talk about how we can ensure each member of our school community is known, valued, celebrated, and supported. And we've been working on that in many different ways to go to our goal this year. One thing we're really going to continue to work on is the expansion of our whole student reviews, which we have been rolling out the last couple of years. We're trying to brainstorm new ways to increase and improve family partnerships. I'll talk about that. It's the year that every 3 to 4 years, we update our DCAP. So this is the year of our review and updates. And let's see, for some of the results, it says 100% of school leaders will embed an equity pause into their data inquiry cycles. We modeled it last year, we used it, but we'll start to incorporate that. 100% of PLL competencies, ICANN statements will be translated into all key languages. We've been people have been asking for that. We are excited to do a relaunch of our CPAC and reestablish our CPAC, and Frank's working on that, as well as some family engagement nights, like a series that they might work on. And students will complete self-discovery career planning activities and school links by the end of the year, which we just talked about. When you jump to the action steps. Sure.
How many key languages do we have, and how do you define a key language?
Well, every year it changes. I think last year we looked into how many languages we had in all. I don't know if you remember, Cheryl. Like it was
I mean, just
close
up
to 20.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Black has been really helpful in working with us as a team. Part of the information that we capture in Power School is about the language spoken in the home. And I think when we all work together on the welcome signs, we try to represent the languages that were spoken in the community. And we were right around 29, 30, I think. But to determine whether or not it's a key language or not.
Yeah.
What's spoken then, or is that?
I mean, that's what we did when we did that sign. We'll see like to what extent we can translate all of the documents and the ability to do that. But I think that was a good idea in order to make sure if this is what we're talking about, that all of our students and families are able to connect to it and understand it. Thanks, John.
Sure.
All right, equity, inclusion, well-being action steps. Let's see. One thing that came up that we'll speak to with our TFM review when Frank comes forward and gives some updates in a month or so is we need to improve that. We have students age 14 and up in our IEP meetings, but there were some findings related to making some improvements in that area. So we put that in there as some work that we'll do. We started some collaboration meetings with counselors a few times in the last couple of years, but we want to have, about 5 throughout the year where they can collaborate on different things. When you look in here, it's related to SEL, curriculum, career-based, school links, MyCap, and all of those categories. That we have brought in therapeutic models and services in the last few years. What we're going to do is analysis of what's been working, look at data and see if there's anything. And one thing that hadn't been created fully was exit and entrance kind of criteria. And so we want to refine those now that we've been doing it for a few years. We're looking for a lot of vertical alignment with our student success teams, and we'll be doing observations of those meetings. The district leaders are going to go so we can observe it across all the district, work on common language, common forms, and common processes. Let's see. Said CPAC already. We had pushed off the EDI survey last year because we had a number of surveys and pushed that off into this year. So once we have that, then you'll see in there one of our action steps is about the analysis and then using that data for feedback for areas for growth for us. And then we, with Frank, he's doing a 90-day kind of entry plan. As part of it is meeting with lots of different groups and program evaluations of all the different programs. And what we want to do is improve our communication about all of our service deliveries that we have in the district. So we'll be working on that over the course of this year. I'm excited. A lot of good stuff with this one.
Do you know if Frank's already put out an email or anything for the CPAC participation?
I don't know if he has. I can check on that. I do know that the family engagement night that they're working on is gonna be in October. And so I don't know if he's looking to have that be in combo, but I know he has met with some of the past representatives from CPAC to get, feedback on what they're looking for and to get information. So I know he's had some initial meetings, but I don't know if he sent out an all call. Jen had sent something out right at the end of last year, so we had some initial names of people who might be interested. I don't know if they set a date yet. Other questions on this? All right. We go into the category that we call community support. You can jump to the goal. This is pretty standard from last year. It's a lot about communication, human resources, partnerships. If we jump into action steps, that might be more helpful. For some reason, there's a lot more in this one and some of the others, but we've already started improving communications internally with our digitized attendance system. We are focusing on press, we have the press releases, and at first it was just getting them out, and then another year we built on it, like we wanted to increase it. And next, I want to make sure it's kind of really heavy on the secondary, and I want to have more highlights for elementary. So that's our goal this year, is to try to increase some highlights from K-8 as well. We have capital project updates. So it's a big, have building committee website that's already built out, as well as capital update page, and giving lots of updates through newsletters, et cetera, to the community. We're looking for new avenues for communicating. We've already hit a couple of them. We've been on TV, and we were on the podcast for the morning edition. So we're, on the radio after
Just
the
famous
radio.
now.
We're famous. And then someone reached out, they want to cover us I haven't even told you this, in a magazine for best managed school districts. So we got to get them info on that. That's in January. I don't know. So I'm going to roll with it and then just say, all right, we'll keep saying yes. And so I put it as an action step. I don't know. I'm like, oh, maybe we should look at all the places that we can communicate that we haven't. I don't know. Well, one thing that Ryan's going to help lead this, we're going to do a district audit just of our communications to parents. We want to, take a look. We use ThrillShare right now. That's through Aptigee, but other districts use, parents. Where are there other ways that you can communicate, and whether or not, what are the pros and cons, and what are people looking for? Is it working? Do we need to change something? We all do our some more letters. They're okay, but I don't know. We're just going to do an audit and just get some input. No big changes. We're looking to engage volunteers. We have the senior abatement program, where you have senior citizens that can come in and help out in the school. We've made a partnership with someone already, looking for some interns internally, volunteers, co-op, et cetera. So just always trying to increase that a little bit this year. So we put it in there. For the capital plan, nothing too surprising in here. We're going to be giving updates on this at every meeting and keeping you, up to date on everything that we're doing. I put in focusing on maybe grant funding and highlighting some of the grants, and then possibly connecting again with MUCP if they're going to do any fundraising. We started this last year for hiring, where we improved some of our substitute training, and also university connections. We reached out and we're doing follow-ups on that. So this is kind of year 2 of working on those 2 items. For marketing and branding, I'll start first with the POL images. I don't even know if you've seen them. We have magnets all throughout the district, and we're going to be giving some resources out with teachers as well, different ways you can use them and embed them. Have you seen them in your classes, the POL magnets?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Do they use them?
Yeah, I think they do.
They
It's
do.
like a-
Yeah, they do.
They do, right? Yeah, so they're using it. It's pretty cool. But we got it for the whole district.
So what's it stand for, guys?
Yeah.
The magnets,
No, POL.
the 6 competencies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
He was tempting. That was good. Nice job. That's right. I'll just pull it up.
He still hasn't said Portuguese learn.
Yeah.
You went a step further. You just assumed that.
Yeah, so that's exciting. We're always looking just for like common branding across the district, and Marianne does a lot of our marketing work, so I want to thank her. I know she's back there. Something else too is bringing forward a unified mascot for the whole district. So if you recall, with our branding, we got rid of like the past image, right? But we didn't replace any image, and We really aren't supposed to be using Warriors with Knitbook. They've asked us not to do that. We thought the best time would be after like a number of years of kind of rolling out off all the uniforms and kind of roll like a 4-year sort of transition, that we're poised now, because with the new fields, that's when you want to start to do your marketing and branding. So I'll give the example of Neshoba. When they got all their new fields, that's when they made the change for like a new branding of the mascot, et cetera. So this is obviously a big item. It will be something that we engage many of our, obviously student athletes and athletic director and district and school leaders, as well as some community members like youth organizations. If you look at all the youth, they all have different kind of, mascots. Our schools don't have mascots. I'd love for us to be a district where we can have that unified branding. We talked about it for a number of years, but we've been waiting for the time when we could do that work, and the work needs to be done before you have a new field for that, if that makes sense. So that's a big one. Budget development, I'll admit it's kind of the same action step we had in the past, but when we meet as a budget subcommittee, I can revise it. There's certain things you're looking for. And then for safety, critical incident planning, I just met with all the SROs and police and fire, and we're working on some of that this year. And just so you know, we're in year 2 of the Sandy Hook Promise. This year, we're getting trained students, teachers and counselors will be trained on See Something, Say Something. Last year was Start with Hello programming. And so you'll get updates of that later on in the year. Questions on that before I go to the last one? Anything on community support? All right, so student performance. I'm not going to read this whole goal. You can come back to this and refer to it. It's not an error that it says 2026, 2027. We've established a 2-year student performance goal or student learning goal that we're going to be working towards. We identified ELA as the area that of focus. Of course, we're focusing on everything, but literacy, reading, writing goes across all of the subjects. So it's something that we can all be working on. And we focused on the subgroup of students with disabilities that we are looking to close that gap as well. As a result, I'm going to jump into the action steps because I think it'll be clear, but you can go back to this, the goal after if you want. We as a team, in addition to all the other work that we have in our priorities, we identified this as such a high priority when I said, when we empower all learners to thrive, we mean all learners. We know not all learners are thriving yet. And so what do we need to do to close that gap? So it's every student, every day, 180 days to 100%. That's my messaging at the start of the year. These are some of the categories. It's almost like an onion. There are so many ways that you can get at this work. We identified high leverage instructional practices, looking at our IEPs, focusing on SDI practices, which especially design instruction, giving more PD on that. In our work with the DCAP, updating the DCAP, but also focusing on literacy and some of our thoughts of like tools that we can share. Many of us attended a DESE training, Instructional Leadership Institute in August, like from district office. We came back with lots of DESE instructional tools that we're going to be piloting and seeing what works, what doesn't. We just did one in a walkthrough, see if that can help leverage our practices as well. Everyone felt it's really important that we come back to a culture of shared responsibility for all of our students. We had this action step in the past around student first language, but we know that we have to come back to that and talking about our students first. We want to continue to communicate the focus on this learning goal, and we want to engage families in the work while it's not, as partners with us. Some of it is building our student support systems up by resources with creation of an MTSS webpage with resources, getting a rubric for writing and evaluating our IEP processes to improve those, observations of SST practices, and also I already mentioned before some of the special ed program reviews and seeing kind of where we're at with some of our programming. And we also know that since co-teaching has been such a focus for us, that we want to kind of almost stand back and say, okay, what do we still need to do to analyze the data in co-teaching, to give support around planning, because we've identified planning as an area for growth, because sometimes we need extra support, or we've had new teachers coming in and providing them with additional resources. So we're really focusing in a little bit more this year than we have in the past, and there's plenty of sub steps to all of these, but I'm really excited about our focus and our work and our vision for improvement for all of our students.
I know you didn't read all of the student performance
I
goals, but it's
didn't.
one of my favorite ones because it has this very clear, this is what we're trying to achieve. These are the knobs we're gonna turn to try to achieve it. And it's not so much about making sure you hit the number, but it's a clear, this is what we're aiming for. So I appreciate
Thanks. Thank you, Cheryl.
that.
Yeah.
Anybody else for?
Questions, comments?
I'll throw one in there. There's a few things we talked about when we got together kind of at the beginning of the year. And I'll put this in for the high school as well, because it's
Okay.
for the high school team coming up shortly. But one of the things that we talked about, I don't know, it could filter into a couple of different areas there, but is trying to, get like 360-degree feedback, maybe from our seniors at the end of the year. What was their experience at Nipmuc? Classes, teachers, admin, building, facilities, stuff, kind of and then, if possible, I think Sean's idea is, can you then repeat that 24 months later? So now you've just finished up your sophomore year. If you went on to college or your 2 years, how well did Nipmuc prepare you for what came after high school for you? I would love to see how we, I know we talked about other goals as well at that meeting, but I think that's one that's achievable. And I think would have some great benefit back.
I know when they come up, we have lots of good people in the room who can maybe speak to what they currently do and the feasibility of some of that, for sure. Thanks. Anyone else?
Just a comment, as I read through these things, maybe it's because I'm becoming more educated about the strategic planning process. I don't know. But it feels like these are all goals that are extensions from the previous strategic plan. And they haven't always been that way in the past, so it feels more achievable. So I appreciate that quite a bit.
Great. We are always working on more coherence and alignment with some of our goals. It's hard because we have such a smart, enthusiastic, hardworking, like top of the line group of administrators that sit around and we think we can do everything, right? But then we know we need to have focus in our work too, and we're working on it. It's always been a
It
work
does
in
feel more
progress, but
focused.
we've been really working hard at that. So I
Yep.
appreciate everyone's work on that.
Good.
All right. Great, thanks. So then, Jay, are you able to come up? Do you mind?
Me?
Yeah, for the building
Okay, I have
committee.
to vote on
capital
that
project.
first.
What? Oh, yes, you have to vote on to approve the action.
Oh, yes. Is there a motion to approve the district action plans for 25-26?
So moved.
Is there a second? Seconded by Sean Nicholson, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Building committee and capital projects. Thanks for joining us, Jay.
Sure, love to be here.
All right, so Jay put together kind of an overview of the main points coming out of the building committee and also our additional work that we have, because we have meetings every week with all the representatives. So we will to,
No, I mean,
yeah, do
sure, yeah,
they just listened to me for about a half an hour. So
okay.
I want your voice.
See one meeting.
Yeah.
All right, so we presented some of this last week at the building committee meeting as well. Just an update of where we are with the MSBA roof project. We do meet with the OPM and the architect weekly on Thursdays. The schematic package is due. due to us probably the end of this month. It has to be submitted on the 23rd of October. We then go into a waiting pattern until they actually act on it, which is in December. Well, I had that date on here, but I guess I don't. So they don't act on it and approve it until December, and I think they do their vetting process and then make sure that, like, we didn't try to slip into the roof HVAC project, a field project, and maybe a new school. They want to make sure that they're actually spending the money on what they've approved. Construction documents should be out in January. We're going to try and do an early release for the HVAC equipment only because we think the lead time is going to be fairly long. We are connecting them with the company that's doing the energy management systems and similar processes to that, because there's a lot of rebates for heat pump type systems. And that's where we really want to go with that stuff. Part of the key is there's pads on the roof and they have to be the right size to put a new piece of equipment. Otherwise you have to kind of rebuild it, which we don't really want to have to do. That's all being looked at. So we're, things are progressing along is what I would like to say, but it is, none of this work's going to really start until probably May or June when they start bringing equipment. But we do meet with them weekly. I think, everybody seems to be on target and doing a good job. We reviewed the fees. So the fees for Civitex, which is the architect, the design firm that MSBA assigned for us, we only have a contract right now. It's through the schematic designs. I asked last week, where's the construction part of the contract? We haven't gotten that yet, but we budgeted a little over 900,000. The current contract is only about 120,000, so I think we're going to be well within our budget there. The OPM contract, we have a complete contract. It was about 402,000. We budgeted 722,000, so we have some room there from what we originally estimated. The purpose of my talking about this is just to kind of show you where we are financially as far as what we planned and where the costs are actually coming in, because ultimately that's the goal, is come in under budget. Aviva Associates, they presented all of their fees to us as well. Total for all the projects is about 1.1 million. On the fields part, we budgeted around $1 million. So we're a little bit higher on that particular project as far as actual costs, but it'll get offset by the fees on the other projects. So on the facility part, their fees are around 800,000. We budgeted about 980,000. So we've got some leeway there. And that covers the facilities and the fields and the roof we already talked about. The energy management system is in at MISCO and is running fairly well. We did have a couple of change orders, which we weren't very happy about, but things do come up that we weren't prepared for. What I have for you, it's not up on the screen. Okay.
No, I apologize.
I'm looking at it, thinking you guys are looking what I'm looking at. Okay, you are looking at what I'm looking at.
But the people at home can't see.
Yeah.
They get, I didn't notice.
What I did is a couple of screenshots. I did get a login into the system where you can basically see an entire wing. You can see what each room is, what the temperatures are of each room. The thermostats in the room, we've learned this recently, can actually sense when the room is occupied or not occupied, and they make adjustments accordingly. So if nobody's in the room, they throttle things down. People go into the room, they pick back up again. The words Ken said to me is this is going to tell us and let us do way more than we probably want to be able to do. That's typically the way with almost
like
everything
that.
software.
If Ken said that, that's fantastic.
Yes.
It's pretty cool to get a 70-year-old building that,
Yeah.
every room is gonna be on its own thermostat. That's
Right.
Do they really have the air handling and stuff, handle it on a room by room basis?
Yes.
Wow. Didn't know that.
So the change orders, I think, did I get into the change orders? I think I did. So the thermostats, we've set it up so that in the classrooms, not that anybody would ever do this, but you can't actually go and start pushing buttons and change things on the thermostats. They're completely disabled from anybody operating with them.
Good.
We are looking into probably getting, how most thermostats in schools have little plastic boxes over them. The concern is that what happens if a kid goes in there and knocks it off the wall? It could be a $250 or $300 thermostat. We're trying to find something that we can do that, but we haven't really gotten that far. I did get a quote for one, like for 75 or 80 little covers, and it's like $800, short money. Vandalism can happen, but right now we have them set up so that, they're controlled by the system and not by somebody in the classroom. It's a pretty advanced system. I mean, I don't know enough about it. When I look at it, I just see lots of cool things. It's like, wow, this is pretty neat, but I'm not an expert in this kind of stuff. As far as the change orders that we had at Misco, we had 3 change orders. One involved just basically draining the entire system. The system was one big loop of water. So when you want to do work on one unit ventilator or one classroom, you have to drain the entire building to work on that one. So we put in isolation valves so that each unit ventilator can be isolated. That wasn't included in the original scope. It should have been, but it wasn't. That was about $33,000 for that change order. The other change order was to wire in the exhaust fans so that the air exchange continues to happen because they were still running on pneumatics. That should have been included in the scope, but that was missed as well. Things like this happen, so I guess we kind of have to deal with it as we go, but we're having those wired in. Our electrician was doing that work instead of the company that installed this. Overall cost though, for all 4 projects, we budgeted about $2 million. Right now, they're coming in about 1.9 million. Now, Nipmuc is the other wild card, and that is an old pneumatic system, so there could be other things, and they're going to revisit it. But I still think we're okay within the budget. And obviously, what we want is a system that is modern and works. Ultimately, we don't want to like cheap it out now and try. You know, we want to make sure that it does what we were paying for it to do.
Do the quotes for Memorial Club and Nipmuc reflect the lessons learned from the?
Yes. Well, so we won't have the issues they're already about halfway through Memorial. They're working on that right now. That's already an electronic system, so the wires are all there. The problem is that these old buildings with pneumatics, you got these little tubes with air, and it would be, you know, in hindsight, it would be foolish to leave the exhaust fans on pneumatics and not have electronic controls for those as well. We have a bunch of questions about how the system works. You know, Ken knows how all the mechanics work. So his question is, if the thermostat stops working, is the ventilator vents, are they open or closed? You know, is the water circulating or not? These are all questions that we're still trying to get some answers to. I'm sure we will. It's just a matter of getting the right people to give us the right answers. I just added this in now because I realized I didn't mention this. We did get a state earmark in the budget through our representatives for $125,000 for a key card system for all 4 buildings. The initial quotes we had were around $110,000, but that was about 3 years ago that we got those quotes. I anticipate they're going to be higher, but I know when we did the budgeting for the, you know, to present to the towns, we increased those dramatically in order to make sure that we encountered potential costs. So there's 2 things that we're doing that are helping offset some of the costs, which is something that we committed to. One is the state earmark. The other thing, if you go back in energy management systems, through the work of the Mendon Green Communities and Isabella, who's the conservation agent, we got $149,000 worth of grant money to offset the cost of Clough. That's a big deal. That's a big grant. You know, it should help quite a bit. And then the last piece is the schedule, which I think you've all seen. This is sort of a high level schedule, but if you look very carefully, you can kind of see where we are as far as, you know, where we are. It's pretty small up there, so you probably can't see it up there. I can't actually see it on my screen either. But we're into October now. We're still in the design phase on the fields. We're still in the design phase on the fields at Misco. We're meeting with them. As a matter of fact, they just requested a meeting on Thursday, I think, this week, to talk about renovation of the bathrooms and the concession stand building and storage buildings at Misco, because they want to start getting working on those. We've signed the contracts with them, so they're all set for that. So that's sort of like where we're at as far as the project.
That being an associates.
Yeah. So we, you know, the building committee voted to, you know, go with contracts they presented. I signed them and sent them back to them. They're now gung ho. Let's get to work. The gentleman we've dealt with pretty much for everything for the last several years, his name is Kevin Provinger. He is now becoming the president of Habib and Associates because Steve Habib is retiring or semi-retiring. So another woman named Melissa, I can't remember her last name right now. She's going to be like our lead architect. But they have a whole team of people. We've worked with them before. We worked with them on the Misco projects. We worked with them on the facility stuff. They did the boilers here at Nipmuc. So we know most of these people and we're pretty comfortable with them. And Ken's pretty familiar with them, and I keep Ken as involved as I can.
How goes finding an OPM for the other capital projects?
So, well, we narrowed it down last week to 5. We had 11 submissions. We narrowed it down to 5. I hope that some calls are being made. I know that Maureen talked to the superintendent in Hopedale. Obviously, one of the finalists is CHA, which is who we're working with right now on the roof project. Another high like high rated company was Vertex. It's a company we've worked with a lot on air quality testing. We're just sort of finalizing that, and then we're going to set up interviews, I believe, for next week. Is it next Monday night? So we're going to have to finalize those this week. I've had a couple of people ask where we're at, and I basically told them we're still working through the process. I'm pretty sure that we're going to be able to find somebody that's will do a good job for us. I mean, the real role of the OPM is to sort of like manage some of the stuff and keep track of like the paperwork and some of that stuff. They're not generally experts in how the stuff actually works. That's where we have Ken.
And if I remember, we had something like 11 or 12 people submit for the OPM.
Right.
Narrowed it down to like 3 or.
Yeah, well, I highlighted 5, but I think 3 were like the front. In my opinion, we should interview 3, not 5. I mean, we should try to keep it like pick the 3 that we think are going to be ones we want to talk to and bring them in next week. We'll see where we go after that.
Any questions?
Back to you.
Sorry, I had just one question on the HVAC, back on the slide 2. So cost estimates are due Friday, but then you also have the Civitech site visit on Friday. Are those 2 things not coupled?
Yeah, they're not. So, no, the Friday we have, by the end of this week, they're supposed to get the schematic designs done. I believe they have a lot done. They're out doing cost estimating. So CHA does its own cost estimating, so does Civitech's.
Okay.
That all is going to come back to us. They have to submit it off MSBA by the 23rd of October. The meeting we're having Thursdays with Habib. We meet with Civitech's and CHA every Thursday, and we will probably throughout this entire project.
The site visit, is it required for the Civitech site visit?
No, they're coming to just look at other things on the roof and stuff. It's not it's not related to, I mean, it's all related, but they can do separate things.
All right. Thanks, Jay.
Sure.
Before we go into new business, it occurred to me, the Mask conference is coming up November 12th to 14th. So if anybody would like to attend that, I would on the Cape, let Dr. go on now.
What kind of support do you need for the conference this year?
I welcome all of you to the conference.
Well, what kind of support do you need?
I personally don't need any support at the conference, but I love having support.
Okay.
Is that a good political response?
I don't know.
You have to choose if you want to go to the conference. I will be there.
Okay,
And
well,
it's good to have.
if none of us.
It's always
were there-
nice when members have been able to attend. It's always good.
If none of us were
Good
there,
learning.
would that be bad?
See that high pitch you went up to for that?
No, no.
John, if I could just weigh in and save a few bucks in the budget though.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
That's-
Okay, moving on to new business. Sorry for keeping you guys waiting. Get back to student handbook updates.
I'll start. The first thing that we have are some updates to the handbook. I know we typically do voting on handbook towards the end of the summer as we approach the new year. One of them is a really exciting adjustment to the handbook. We meet as a student support team and talk about attendance frequently. As you know, attendance data, not just here, and they'll talk a little bit about it. Across all schools, it's a struggle across, I'm sure, the entire nation. And so the team has developed some programming that they'd like to suggest some changes in the handbook too. The second one that you have is just a minor, it's an addition. It doesn't change any practice. It wasn't listed in our handbook that the passing grade was 65 and that year-long classes get a full credit and the other ones get a half credit. It came up because we were talking competency determination. And so that's why it came to light, but it aligns with all of our current practices. So I'd like to introduce Carrie Fagan and Ryan Capizzello, our 2 school adjustment counselors who want to talk to you about some exciting changes with attendance policies. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Hi, thank you. So I'm Ryan Capizzello, school adjustment counselor at Mendon-Upton Regional.
I'm Carrie Fagan, the other adjustment counselor at Nipmuc Regional.
And Today, we are talking to you about the Attendance Matters program, or as we're calling it, AMP. AMP is a tier 2 intervention intended for students with challenges to their attendance. And we'd like to talk to you about that new programming. So attendance matters. Why does it matter? So attendance matters because it improves academic outcomes for students. This is caused by more time in learning and in front of teachers, classroom, and increases student engagement and connections by students being with their peers and being around teachers and other folks in the school community. And it increases chance of graduation and achieving post-secondary goals and success. Due to this increased time on learning and student engagement and connections. So that's how why attendance matters to the individual student. Attendance also affects other stakeholders within the school community. Some of these may be teachers, counselors, and other support staff, also parents and caregivers, and other peers within the classroom. So some of these challenges that inconsistent attendance might bring to teachers is inconsistent curriculum delivery, or extra time needed for catching students up if absent. Some of these challenges for counselors and student supports, higher caseloads, also limited tiered services provided consistently, so more focused on like crisis intervention as a result of increased absenteeism. It affects parents and caregivers because this now is disrupting communication between home and the school, and also giving a lot more work for parents to do at home. Other peers disrupted because of these inconsistencies in their groups that they may be working in the classroom. Some other stakeholders that are also affected, district level and school level administration. Inconsistent attendance can lead to inaccurate data, can also impact funding and resource allocation for the school and district. It can impact school nurses because it limits the ability for health monitoring consistently. And it affects school resource officers because now this is more time focused on truancy matters, and it just does not allow that connection to be made in the school community. So why are we focusing on attendance? This is a graph of chronic absenteeism since pre-COVID-19 levels. As you can see, before COVID-19 pandemic, rates were below 10% for chronic absenteeism. Chronic absenteeism is absenteeism over 10% of the school year. So 180-day school year, 18 absences per year will qualify as chronic absenteeism. So rates were below 10% for the pandemic. As you can see, going into the pandemic and years shortly after, there is a spike. In recent years, chronic absenteeism has lowered and is not quite yet back to pre-pandemic levels. So we have been mainly focused the last few years on universal supports. How do we help everybody get back into the building? How do we help everybody create that new sense of normalcy? So we've been focusing on tier 1 interventions. If we look at this pyramid, this is the MTSS, or multi-tiered systems support approach. And tier 1 interventions are designed for all students. These set expectations. They promote awareness and education for families and students about why attendance matters in this case. Also, tier 1 interventions focus on fostering connection and engagement for all students, creating that positive, safe environment of belonging, and also ensuring equity for all students.
So this is just some of the examples of what this might look like at Nitmuc. Last year, we initiated our first launch day for incoming 9th grade students in June. And this was an opportunity for all incoming ninth grade students from Misco to come up and basically participate in a day of fun where they came up, they participated in a design challenge up at Nipmuc. They met upperclassmen. They felt welcome and celebrated. They were able to have a nice meal up here, things along those lines. And the feedback we got from that was super positive, but it was really a way to kind of establish that connection between Misco and Nipmuc and saying, you know, you're here, we want you, we celebrate you. We're looking forward to having you there. I see Shauna over there. Every freshman also, I know you wrote a lot of these, received a personal letter from an upperclassman that they got right before school started, welcoming them to Nipmuc. And in some cases where we were able to make a connection because of incoming ninth grader had identified a club or activity or a team or a sport that they were interested in, there was a personal connection made there. So again, another way that freshmen could feel connected and that they were part of the school community, you know, before even stepping through the doors. In the last few years, we have remodeled the first 2 days of the school year to focus more on, again, building connection, building engagement, not sort of getting down to the nitty gritty of academics right away, but kind of, you know, saying we're coming back to school, we're connecting and we're reconnecting to school into the community here at Nipmuc. This year, we moved our club and activity fair to the first 2 days of school rather than the second or third week of school. Once again, looking to get kids connected and excited about the other opportunities that are available to them here at the school. We also looked in this school year, we came up with 2 opportunities in September to do an extended break for our students so that they could, it created space for clubs and activities to meet. And again, looking to build the connections, build the passions, you know, get kids connected and involved early. We hopefully will continue to do this. We still have to see what the logistics of that, but we'll be looking hopefully to continue that through the rest of the year. And this is all in addition to all of the efforts that have been happening over the course of the last several years to level up curriculum and authentic learning experiences for all learners to build their passions and really make school a place that they can connect to and that they feel excited about being here. And here are some other data points. Tardies as a subset of attendance. These are just we actually had trouble finding data points for tardies through all the various data systems we have, but this is our running tardies, our total tardy numbers over the course of the last couple of years. And really, as you can see through the line, they've actually stayed pretty similar. And this year, we're actually pretty much on track to kind of be in the same place. So as we were looking at places to kind of focus our efforts and focus, you know, maybe the building of some tier 2 interventions, we've thought about tardies and thought about what can we do in this area. That's the why of that.
So that's all schools, all students?
No, it's Nipmuc. Yeah.
So you have 4,000 tardies by the end of the year?
Or close to 3,000. Yeah, or over. Yeah.
Are those all unexcused tardies?
It's all tardies.
Okay.
And that's a good question. It is all tardies. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the data for unexcused versus excused, but there are definitely some unexcused tardies in there.
Have tardies also, like, post-COVID, are they up compared to pre-COVID as well? You know what I'm trying to say?
I do. Anecdotally, I feel like I want to say yes. Unfortunately, we did take some of this data from Open Architects, but they only go back a few years because we've only had them for a few years.
Yeah.
And it was hard to get that data through in a nice encapsulated way through other ways, but that's a really great question.
What's the total population of Nipmuc?
About
470.
Okay, yeah. And also, that's the other thing about the tardies is I believe our population has come down over the course of the last couple of years. So there was a little bit of a decrease in those numbers from, I think, 2 years ago to last year, but our population is.
So we need like a tardies per capita.
Yeah. So as Brian was talking about tier 1 strategies earlier, so tier 2 strategies, generally speaking, identify students who need additional support, but beyond the universal tier 1 interventions. These are targeted interventions for students who meet a specific criteria. In this case, we're talking about concerning tardiness. There's a focus on collaborative problem solving and reducing barriers. We're looking to increase family support and engagement. And in the last couple of years, and then certainly with the idea of this AMP program, we're really looking to shift the punitive nature of tardy consequences to more solution-focused strategies. I want to say at the beginning of last year, we used to have a consequence of students who would after a certain number of tardy, I think 4 or something, would lose their parking pass. Sean, you're
Yep.
nodding your head. So we stopped doing that. And the other thing that they were doing is that there would be a detention. So with this AMP program that we're proposing, we're gonna hopefully do away with the detention as well. So,
I'm sorry, why?
please, by what?
So, I'm sorry, so we're getting rid of the consequences for being tardy?
Well, we're gonna go this instead.
The punitive cost.
Yeah, punitive consequences. So, oh, sorry, yeah, okay, so brings us to the Attendance Matters program, which is intended to be a targeted intervention designed to support students who have been tardy to school. We're talking for 4 to 6 tardies per term. Takes place, so basically, once a student hits their 4th tardy, they would be referred to this program. It will take place during breaks on Wednesdays and Fridays and will be staffed by school counselors and school adjustment counselors. What that would mean for a student is if they hit their 4th tardy, they would be referred to the program. So their next break that was on a Wednesday or Friday, they would come join us in the places we will be, to be determined. It will focus on building positive habits, fostering accountability, and helping students start their school day successfully. And it provides a structured opportunity for students to take ownership of their attendance, improve their time management skills, and create a plan that helps promote success. The other, obviously, I think, point to this is it will also help them transfer these skills to their long-term plans. Questions? Okay, through AMP, students will recognize and reflect on the challenges that contribute to being late. For some students, it could be they just haven't set their clock earlier, their alarm earlier. They have to, there are kids stop and get their Dunkin' Donuts or whatever it might be. And certainly there's students who struggle with, mental health challenges or even sometimes physical challenges that makes it difficult for them to get to school on time. They'll set goals to improve punctuality and establish healthy habits and consistent routines of daily living. It's going to allow them to connect with the school counseling team for ongoing support and check-ins. We want them to identify personal and school-based goals so that when they're trying to work towards their attendance, it's connected to something that's important to them. And students will follow up with school counseling staff on their progress towards goals. So that's the hope that we have through AMP. And that is AMP. We're amped about it. We hope you will be too.
This is really interesting. I want to see in a year, I want you guys to come back and because I can see this going either way.
Yep.
I could see students saying, well, if I don't have, I'm never going to lose my parking pass. I'm getting my mocha latte every single day.
Well, we did the mocha latte. We've been doing that for a while. The parking pass has been, we've actually had a year of that and there's not been any significant shift in the tardy numbers that we can tell. So I think that's one of the things that we found, and the reason we did away with that is that students would just be absent then if they were going to lose a parking pass.
Yeah, wow.
So
That's a bit worse.
it kind of was a consequence that wasn't doing what we wanted it to do.
And
So
would you say that like the numbers are still way up from
Yeah.
pre-COVID? So like what's the number one reason kids are absent today versus
absent or tardy?
well, absent, because that's what we have data for, and we can see that it's still significantly higher than it was 5 years ago.
I don't know. I don't have that off the top of my head. Yeah.
Contributing factors can be that sense of normalcy was disrupted. Maybe they're seeing parents not going to work or working remotely. Maybe they don't think it's as big of a deal to be at school. They got by without it for so long. Maybe there's residual effects of the pandemic and increased anxiety, which anxiety plays a role in school avoidance, things like that.
Yeah. But the other thing is, I think as we propose this program, and you're right, it could go either way, that we could have great success, or we're going to have success with some students, and then other students will need even a higher level of tier 3 interventions, so more individualized interventions or support, which we're prepared to provide. We would do that anyway. But one of the things that I think is really cool about this is we are going to be able to keep better data over the course of the next year and then come back, as you say, and say, okay, what went well with this? Where do we need to make some improvements? How do we want to move forward? Because it's clearly attendance, tardies, and even dismissals are really things that we have to kind of tackle as best as we can. Because again, we're preparing students for the work world.
So I have been a little bit involved with this because of the policy meetings we had with Mary and John and like I think it's 3 years ago.
Been talking about it for a lot of years.
Yeah, it's been a long time. anyway, but one of the things that we discussed, we didn't want, I shouldn't say that, we discussed was, does this create, or did the existing policy create a condition where children were being unfairly punished? So to give you an example, there might be a family issue or a problem where something happens on a consistent basis. They can't show up in time. They get their car taken away from it and it exacerbates the problem.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot worse.
Yeah.
So it's just it creates a mental breakdown. That's what it does. And you never see the kid for a week, which is not healthy.
No,
So we
no,
want to prevent that.
right,
That's not the majority of the cases by any means. There's also cases that I'm pretty familiar with, which is kids get overworked and overwhelmed, and they literally have an issue getting to school on time, right? So, and it'll back itself up if you've got a kid in sports and every academic program under the sun, and they end up overworking themselves. And there's no throttling of that to have the kid understand what's too much and what's too little, because they're still kids. So, and the parents aren't necessarily the best judgment vehicle for that either. So there's a number of problems I think that this would solve on the fringes. I'm not sure if it handles all the kids who want to get a latte in the morning. I don't know if that solves the problem, but you know, I
no,
do
but we're
think it
actually
helps
banking
out.
that those students may not want to lose their break. There is that. I mean, they may want to, but they may not want to. But I think you're right. I think it is going to allow us to, figure out what barriers, figure out with students what barriers might be existing in a family or with a student or something on those lines without, because prior, if they just went to detention, they sat there for 45 minutes and, there was no conversation, there was no reflection, there was no, opportunities to really take a look at, what's going on here and how can we help?
So for that reason, I think it improves the situation, especially since we need more data to figure out what the actual impact is for the latte drinkers in the world.
I was just playing devil's
I know
advocate.
you are. I don't need to pick that up.
How long is the break period in high school? My kids are in elementary school, so I'm not.
17 minutes. Yeah.
So instead of.
We're going to be doing a lot of work in 17 minutes, but there's also going to be follop. Yeah.
So it's one day or is it multiple days?
We're starting with just one break, but if then a student comes in and gets their fifth tardy, they would, and then we'd be saying, okay, let's reflect on that plan that you created. Let's see what went well, let's see what didn't go well, and what do we want to do? How do we want to change it or shift it a little bit so that you can be successful? So that's kind of how it would be. And then, like I said, there's going to be the follow-up with school counseling staff. So we're gonna see how it goes. Some of this may change over time, but this is the gist of the AMP program.
It's a great opportunity to collect a lot of data. This is a committee that's very focused on their data collection. So having this individualized, personalized touch points with kids to sort of, as you say, identify barriers and reduce those barriers. It also serves as sort of like a first step intervention referral process for a lot of students, because attendance issues are your first touch point for a lot of kids who have emotional issues.
Right.
So I think it increases our ability to find, it's sort of our, child find roles to help identify students who might be in need of services and support earlier than we might have otherwise.
No, I think you're
Rather
absolutely
than
right.
just taking away their parking pass or.
Retention. No, I think you're absolutely right.
Good point, Karen. Any other comments? Questions?
Is it okay if I jumped in from the side? I know.
Only if you go stand up there with them.
Just to say how grateful we are that we have a group that's getting actionable around these kinds of ideas. We've seen coming out of our student success team, our school counseling center, a look to not look at kids being bad or punish them for showing up late, but to recognize that 7:30 is early, it's challenging, and let's build relationships. Let's give them strategies. Let's use it as a teachable moment. We've seen not only this, but we're changing the language that goes out in the emails about tardy and late arrivals and absences. We've done home visits, Zooming from home with a student who has reluctance to come to school. Mr. Capizal has joined me on those a few times, where actually goes to the home and participates in a meeting there, looking for any which way we can in order to say, we want you here, you're welcome here, and we're here to be your planning partner to get you here. Holding the doors every morning when kids are arriving late, you'd be surprised, it's a lot less coffees coming in, and it's more stress and anxiety. It's more the look of stress and anxiety, that we all have felt from time to time.
Yeah.
I'm starting my day late, I'm going to be in trouble, someone's going to be angry at me. That's a really rough way for anybody, especially a teenager, to start the day. So we started by really making sure we're greeting them with a smile no matter what time of day it is that they come in. But that only goes so far. Having an action plan put in place and having a team that's willing to give up their time during the day to sit, meet, coach, develop relationships, contact families, and so on. So I want to recognize both of you and everyone who's been involved in the process for that work.
Thank you.
Thanks for adding the details, John. Agreed. Thanks for going above and beyond. That's awesome. You guys hopping on meetings, going to houses. That's next level. It's awesome. Thanks, guys.
Jim's never gonna have a
Thank
latte again.
I know. I don't like lattes. Okay, we need, is there a motion to approve the changes to the Nipmuc student handbook?
I make a motion to do just that.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right.
We assumed the sale came right out of it. Thanks for the chance to present. We know you've had a lot of information on the agenda tonight, so we'll give a quick update on NEASC, and Mary Ann is going to share the screen a little bit to talk about our upcoming collaborative conference visit, and then we'll share our school goals.
Can I interrupt you real quick, John?
Yes, sir.
Did we also need to vote on the grading and credit policy? For the agenda? Was that all-
I thought it
It
was
was
all.
all at once,
All right.
but you can revisit if you want to.
Let's keep going.
Great.
I don't want to slow us down, that's why I was making sure.
Great. So next Tuesday and Wednesday, we will host a collaborative conference from the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. This is part of our accreditation cycle. We're big believers in accreditation. We like research-based best practice. We like having a chance to get feedback from other educators across New England. So we're excited about the visit. The collaborative conference is part of an updated accreditation cycle. It used to be once every 10 years, you had the main event and a huge team visited your school, descended upon your school, and then would give you feedback that guided you for the next 10 years. The process has been updated significantly, where now they are coming in as planning partners. So this is officially like year 8 of our visit cycle, where they're going to come in, they'll do classroom visits, meet with teachers, parents, students, leadership team, observe classes, and evaluate the priority areas of the school, our goal setting, and evaluate also the degree to which they feel like we have the competency in order to bring our goals about. They'll provide us with some feedback on our work, and then the team will go away, and a larger team will come back in 2 years in order to assess the progress that we've made during that 2-year period. So we're very excited. It's a smaller team of about 6 folks who are arriving. The chair is a talented chair. He's the former chair of the commission. He's a superintendent in Connecticut. He's done a lot of these visits, and we asked for someone who could give us feedback on the stage of the journey that we're at. We feel really confident with that, with his guidance, which is great. In preparation for this work, we conducted a self-study, self-reflection report that we did over the course of the spring. A lot of schools will give up every faculty meeting, every moment of PD time in order to get ready for a NEASC visit. We're really excited that we gave up 0 PD time and only about 15 minutes of a faculty meeting to vote. We embedded meetings with school counselors, school nurse, library media, student interviews, department chairs. Every teacher worked on this during common planning time, district leadership team, and we were able to put together the report. We also asked NEASC if it'd be okay if we piloted a new format for the report, feeling like the other strategy was very wordy. The narrative can be a little bit off-putting. And so they allowed us to try a new template that we would really love to see scaled across schools in New England. We're really excited about what we've done. It's bullet statements, direct specific evidence linked into the report. You have a website that we created that includes that report, also the process that we've gone through. A fun little AI tool with some support from Ryan Robidoux showing us about Notebook LM, so like a chat bot if they have any questions about our work. And we're getting ready to visit them. They'll be here on Tuesday. So that's a quick overview of the visit. We feel like Nipmuc is shaping a lot of the work that NEASC is doing. NEASC just shifted from vision of the graduate to vision of the learner. We feel like that's due in large part to our collaboration. They have agreed to get rid of that. Maybe analytic rubrics are not the best way to measure soft and durable skills embedded in a vision of the graduate, vision of the learner, and have shifted to the 1-point rubric version ICANN statements that we have modeled, which we're really excited about. The reflection-based approach with the skills is something that they are now training schools on based on our collaboration with them. So we feel like we have worked really closely with them. They've guided our work, and now we're looking forward to getting really solid feedback that's going to take us one step further. And we have a talented team that's going to be able to do that.
So this is the website. I think it's probably linked in your background stuff, but you feel free to access it. The full report that our school community put together is on there for you to check out if you want to. One of the pieces is just trying to get 6 people to understand our learning community in 2 short days. And one of those days is spent writing. And so we tried to embed the AI, like John said, and connect them with as many groups as possible and share our work in advance of. Creating a website is not a requirement of the NEASC process, but we really just wanted the team to have as much information as possible that we could provide to them. The AI companion essentially takes our entire report and allows the team to ask questions. It created a podcast out of it. So ways to get them up to speed as quickly as possible before they walk through our doors. So we're excited to have them. Questions about NEASC or what that visit will look like? We'll obviously be able to share the report with you after they go, but we've identified our own priority areas. Our school community identified priority areas and voted on those in terms of the work that we think we have. They're here to validate that and or raise other things that we could be working on.
So what would cause NEASC to not credit a high school?
We first of all, we don't think that's on the table.
Certainly hope.
I had the chance. I was really fortunate. I got to lead the committee to write the 2020 standards. And one of the things that we did when we rewrote the standards was to identify what we called foundational elements in each of the standards, which were more of what they used to call the deal breakers, things that really need to be in place. For instance, is your school safe? If you weren't able to meet that minimum level of having a safe school, at that point, they would immediately ask for some directed action. This is the area of safety to address. This is a recommendation on how to get there. We're going to give you X amount of time to get that work done. Really what NEASC wants to see is that you're engaged, that you're looking at the research-based best practices and you're not pushing back on them, but saying, yeah, that makes sense and we're putting a plan in place. They then want to be able to have the chance to comment on that plan, give you feedback and give you some corrective action along the way. It's rare for a school to have a decennial or a collaborative conference visit and then immediately feel like their accreditation is in jeopardy. It's not that kind of an organization. They really have work to do. They used to say, we're no longer the one verb organization, no longer just a credit. Now we provide PD. We're going to hold your hand and walk you through the changes. We're going to help you adapt to these crazy changing times that we're living in. And so if there is a resistance, a pushback, or an inability to follow through with their recommendations, they may begin that lengthy process of saying, we're going to take away your accreditation.
What's the consequences for not being accredited?
Well, one, I would have a hard time looking our parents, our students, and our teachers in the eye and saying that we're just here, we're doing a great job, don't worry about what everyone else says. Having research-based practices guide your work makes a difference, especially now when schools need to be engaged in a process of continuous improvement. It really matters. I also truly believe that the New England Association of Schools and Colleges would like to accept students from accredited organizations. They want to know the quality of education that a student that is represented on a student's transcript is commensurate with the research-based best practices that they believe in as a higher education institution as well. So it's not all about college, but that is a component of it that we think is important. There have been some schools over the state in the last 10 years who have walked away from accreditation, and I haven't understood it. I think if I were a community member in those communities, I would have a lot of questions for my school committee and my high school principal. The priority areas that Marianne mentioned are probably a good transition to our school improvement plan, as they are really the foundation of the work that we're going to be focusing on this year and heading into the decennial in a couple of years.
Awesome. So school improvement plan, you have the full plan in front of you. Like Maureen, we're going to try and just give some overviews, but happy to answer any questions. I think you'll see obviously the alignment to the district plan. They fall into essentially the three main buckets, although there is some in bucket 4 as well. And obviously the student learning goal is reflected. You'll hear a lot about authentic learning, portrait of the learner, the work that we've been doing. This year, we're extending it into the assessment of the skills, which we're really excited about. We'll talk about that. And continuing our work around career connected and immersive experiences for our kiddos to get off campus into the workplace, into the college environment. We're still doing work around curriculum and data inquiry cycle. We'll talk about what we're doing here to close the achievement gap. And then you heard a lot, Brian and Carrie talked a lot about belonging and the work we're doing there, but we'll share a few more things as we go. So
First area we want to talk about is authentic learning and the portrait of a learner. Coming into last year, we made a decision on the moments in the curriculum and in the high school experience where we would assess the portrait of a learner. We made an intentional decision that it wasn't going to be every assignment, every day, all the time, but that we would take intentional moments that are meaningful, the moments were most aligned with our beliefs about learning, and that would be the spot where we assess the portrait of a learner. And that ended up with 5 locations. Our Inspired Learning Days, which we have district-wide, which are a great opportunity to reflect on the POL. Showcases of learning, which exist across all of the departments. Any of our MyCap work, so future-focused work, internship programs, that's a natural opportunity to reflect on the portrait of a learner. We believe extracurriculars are a great opportunity. If you're the captain of the cheer squad, you are learning leadership skills and you have the chance to demonstrate that. You're on stage as a performer or backstage in drama, that is an opportunity to demonstrate that you develop durable skills. And the last part, which is the part we've had the most intentionality around, so where does it live in the curriculum? And so we developed a protocol by which teachers could work together with colleagues or students in order to develop a high confidence, collaboratively built authentic learning experience. We started with just 1 per course. You've seen that visual downstairs in the media center. And that visual is great. And I think it provides a way so someone can see the full journey and all the opportunities that are available to students. But this year we're moving forward with the assessment piece. Assessment is really where the rubber hits the road. And so in order to do that, we have updated the Leveling Up tool with feedback from the 1-8 Foundation and Ally, which Maureen gave a great overview, but I can talk about more in a moment. Through that partnership, we are now moving to what they call the codification phase, the moment where you take an idea and then you turn it into something that you're sharing with other schools. The way Maureen explained Ally was perfect. I would almost consider it like an incubator for strong teaching learning practices. And when we started a couple of years ago, we were one of 10 schools that were invited to that incubator. And they said, come up with an idea that you want to generate that would make sense for your community. Always with the idea of being data-driven and always with the idea of being able to scale it to other school communities in the long run. This will now be year 3 of our partnership. And on October 15th will be the first time that we welcome 7 school teams to Nipmuc in order to train them on the authentic learning protocol, how to use it, how to roll it out with their staff. So that's a powerful moment for us where you go from learning something to teaching something and being the hub where people go in order to learn how to develop these kinds of authentic learning experiences. We're super excited about that. A key part of that, Cheryl has been leading Instructional Partners, which is a new teacher leadership group over the past few years that's been grant funded, that has made a tremendous impact. They are our authentic learning experts. They've run the protocol dozens of times. They call it pastry with the partners, where you can drop in, bring your lesson, get feedback from them on the spot. And last year we had a model goal where our teachers took on authentic learning experiences, built them. And then the key part was data collection for us. Our lowest data point in past few years through the panorama has been stealth efficacy, particularly on the one indicator that says, I'm going to remember this thing 1 year from now. And in 2024, that percentage was 24. In 2023, the percentage was 26. Pretty low. And so we said, when it's connected to the real world, when it's meaningful, you can see the relevance and the connection. It's going to be remembered better. It's going to be used more. And the cohort last year, that number went to 73% based on authentic learning experiences, which was proof of concept using the same framing as the panorama survey. We added an additional question too about whether or not you will not only remember, but will you use this 1 year from now? And that number was 64%. There's a lot of work to be done. Our teachers are awesome. They're open, they're working, and we have tried to make this as bite-sized as possible by starting with one authentic learning experience and scaling from there. But we really feel like this codification here is going to be a game changer for us.
Great.
One more piece too, the other piece that we built off of the assessment of the portrait of a learner. Assessing whether someone has durable skills is very different than assessing whether or not you can calculate slope. To be able to look at someone and say, yes, you earned proficiency in altruism and impact or human conversations and connections is a different task than looking at a traditional assessment. So we're going reflection based. Last year, we used the Mastery Progress Tracker as a way to test this process of assessment with our sophomores, and it didn't go great. But that was really helpful for us. The questions we asked students, the way we asked them to reflect wasn't sufficient for them to show evidence. And so we're putting processes in place in order to adjust that this year. This fall, we're launching an AI reflection companion tool that's going to help students take their reflection on their work. It's going to run them through a series of questions and reflective prompts, and then generate a transcript that the teacher can then use in order to work with the student to see the degree to which they are actually competent. It keeps the assessment in the hands of a human being, a trained educator, but it provides some scaffold for students. That may work, it may not work, but we're trying a lot of things and learning from the failures and adjusting as we go.
Is that with Ryan?
We built this, but since we built it, Ryan went off and took a course in the tool we're using and already is way smarter than me about it. So, we're excited to learn from him and have him help us out with it.
Great. That was probably the longest one, so. So career connected immersive learning experiences, you've heard a lot about our innovation career pathways over the course of the last few years. So we've had the information one, which was computer science, then we rolled the 2 business ones. And so science has been in the planning phases for the last 2 years. So this year it officially launches with healthcare and the environmental pathways. So we're excited to do that. We're at the point now where we're looking at building an innovation career pathways team that can really focus on programming across all the pathways. What does that look like? What are our enrollment targets? What are the shared experiences that these students are having? Now that we have 5 pathways in existence over 3 subject areas or 3 content areas, we want to find kind of the through lines of the experiences. So that's the focus of the team this year. Our junior career programming is continuing to expand. We started internships with a pilot of 20. We went to 40 last year. Fingers crossed, we're hoping to have 60 community partners to send our students out into internships this year. But it has also come up in terms of creating programming for juniors that are here as well. So not all students are interested in going on a 3-week experience, but what are those opportunities that we're providing for all juniors and the time frame when they're back, where some of the curriculum has already been covered. Those students that have left aren't there in the classroom anymore. And so department chairs are very interested to work with school counselors to develop some programming opportunities, whether it's a resume writing workshop, whether we have a panel of healthcare professionals that come in and talk about jobs across those, or engineering, or students are out in the community doing work there. So going to be building programming there until we have a point where all the juniors are out on internship. And then early college opportunities. We've been kind of piloting and tinkering with early college. It is something that I feel like other high schools in the area were quicker to than we were. But in the spring, we had a partnership with Quinn Sig to have a sociology course. We had 8 students enroll in it, some of which chose to take it on top of the 7 classes they were taking outside of school, but some of it chose to opt out of a course that they were taking, so had that block in their schedule to do the work, which is something we'll navigate. This summer, there was a free opportunity with Quinn Sig through grant funding to take Psych 101. We had 10 kids enroll in that, and we currently have 6 students enrolled in business law at Quinn Sig. Again, 3 of those students are choosing to take it during their school day. And so it's asynchronous content. They engage in it like they would a virtual high school class. But others are still taking it in addition to, which obviously makes me a little bit nervous. They seem to be managing it. But our students are hungry for the opportunities. This year, we plan to formalize hopefully a partnership with Quincy and starting to help more students gain access to these courses as an option. So AP is one way, but to have early college programming for our students as well is another way.
This is probably a good spot to jump in on the question you had earlier, if it's okay.
Yeah, I got
Oh, yeah.
a different one first.
Okay.
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 So you said 6 kids are taking business law.
Yeah.
It's awesome, by the way. Is that like the only class that was available, or did they like vote and pick, or like?
Yeah, so we had put a couple options out. I mean, we look at all of the offerings. The challenge is you have to have a cohort of students in order to run it because there's a certain cost associated with it. So right now we are partnered with Hopedale.
Okay.
Hopedale has a subset of students in it and we have it in order to make it run essentially in order for them to put a faculty member against it. And so we have polled students around it. A lot of it comes with high interest areas, right, in order to pull a group of students.
Okay.
But yeah, it could change from time to time.
Yeah.
You know, there are options like English 101 out there, but obviously that pulls from the same cohort of students trying to take English 12 as their course offering here. And so we've just been trying to explore opportunities that don't currently exist here as well.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ivana.
To your point about collecting data on our kids, I think it's an area of growth for us.
100%.
We have a senior exit interview that we do right now, and that exit interview has been primarily focused on the most impactful moments where they're practicing the POL skills. And last year, we actually had our students tell a little bit of a story about their POL experience, where it happened, what it looked like. That was where we generated our Portrait of Learner awards from. Also moments in classes. There's other data that we collect. We need to get smarter about how to stay connected to our students beyond graduation. We always collect their email addresses in that exit interview, but oftentimes they don't have their college email address yet, and we lose contact with them. And we've got a gap of communication that happens once they get the diploma that it would be really helpful to close, not only for the questions you asked, but building this alumni network as we're looking for community partners, career shadowing. It's a real need for us, and we need to find a way in order to build that connection beyond graduation here. I know other principals face similar challenges, but there's an answer to this question. We just got to figure it out. So cool.
Great.
Next piece you heard Maureen talking about the student learning and achievement gap. It's an area that we're definitely focusing on here. And we are really focusing on especially design instruction as our approach. Worked with our Student Support Services Department Chair and created a model learning goal for special educators in particular. We're really getting into the disabilities listed on IEPs and specially designed instruction that will be matched with that. So doing a deep dive, coming up with a spreadsheet resource of all the disabilities, matching it with specially designed instruction that is appropriate for that disability, creating the database, and then leveraging open architects in order to enter it into the OA platform under the new notes section, so that the special educator and the liaison, yes, are going to be the people that have the most knowledge about this, but that knowledge is going to get transferred more easily through this digital platform. We talked a lot about tier 2 services through our student success team happening more in a digital environment with the right resources. It's easier to share, supports teacher to teacher, and generate conversation teacher to teacher. We're really excited about that. We think it's going to make an impact. Having the data and having the instructional strategies more accessible is only part of it, though. A lot of work has been done in the district, as you know, about data inquiry. We're really impressed with what's happening, especially at the elementary level, the work that they do on their data teams and the work that they do on their special education team. There's a lot that we can learn from them. And so we'll be observing their work in order to take different structures and different formats and scale it to NIMBUC. Obviously, when you're with one kiddo most of the day, it's a different scenario than if you got 7 teachers working with them. But we know that they're going to have information for us that is really helpful in tweaking our process for data inquiry in order to support the needs of all learners. Our process with this is very much a rubber hits the road instructional approach. We're going to be keeping track of the SDI and collecting data and then bringing the data inquiry in more through the middle and the end of the year. That's not the only work that's being done. Cheryl led the curriculum review process for ELA last year, and she and Ryan will take the lead on supporting the science and the music departments in their work as well. And we do expect recommendations around curriculum to come out of our NES evaluation, which will be additional feedback that we can look at for next year.
Great. Final one is around belonging and success planning. Again, you've heard a lot about this. This wasn't a single year journey, and we have plenty of work to continue to do here in terms of making sure our students are well taken care of when they come here, and we learn as much as we can about them. So you heard about the beginning of the year stuff. We started with lunch day last year with our 8th graders. And so we kind of made this commitment to say, while we're working on supporting all students, we wanted to say, if we started really strong with our incoming freshman class, how could we continue to build that belonging? So we had lunch day, we had the club activity letters, we had an open house at the DECA cookout. We switched it up this year, and the club activity fair was in those first 2 days of school. So our students were connecting immediately. And then you heard we had an extended break. So typically we have 2 different breaks, which makes it impossible for clubs and activities to meet. So on 2 days already this year, we merged them together and made a little bit longer of a break. And so all clubs and activities can meet. So students who don't typically have access to clubs and activities because they're not able to stay after, or they're a freshman and they're just nervous about stepping foot into the room with some upperclassmen, we were able to facilitate making those connections early on so that now we can build a structure to keep those connections going as we move on. We're in year 3 with our partnership with Jed High School. This is the strategic plan, action planning. We've done a lot of self-study. We've taken a lot of steps moving forward. It's really focused on well-being and safety and belonging. And so this year we'll have our final action plan. We work with a team from Jed. We have a Jed committee here, but we work with the greater Jed organization to take a look at our action steps as we move forward. And then our survey data, we get lots of good survey data. We're excited this year to involve our students in the action planning. We have Active Minds and Kyle Cares and peer leadership and a lot of amazing students doing incredible work here. And they're very interested in the data, which I think is amazing. And so getting the data in the hands of our students who will tell us exactly, what we're supposed to do. But no, it's a collaboration between counselors, obviously us, educators, and the students to look at our data and to come up with some next steps that incorporates the voices of our students, I think will be critically important. We are about to do our next Metro West. It happens every other year. So our students will be looking at past Metro West data and then current panorama data and EDI. Those surveys will be done this fall. And we continued our work with whole student review, which means we take a strength-based look at every single student with information that's in Open Architects. We have been building our data in Open Architects to really highlight student strengths. So this year at the end of 8th grade, they did a kind of a profile that had their strengths and their interests and the things they were looking forward to about high school and the things that they needed from their teachers. We had our launch day, had our ambassadors work with them to get some other data. We uploaded that sheet in. We have all their name recordings and their pronouns and not yet. So that's in there. The Portrait Learner Scholar profiles in there. This year we asked parents to fill out 1 million words or less. So to get information from families to tell us about their kid, and we were able to upload those into Open Architects. So we're building such an amazing dashboard of information to give us not just attendance data or MCAS data or grades data, but really to help all educators be able to find those student strengths and interests. And so the whole student review is a process that we engage in a half professional development day, but we looked at every student in the class of 2028 in small groups and built a profile that has student strengths and interests, and then potential strategies to help engage that student in the classroom. And so that's the beginning of the student success planning process. So every student now in the class of 2027 and the class of 2028 has one of those documents linked into Open Architects as the starting point. And so when a student comes up with the need for with attendance concerns or needs additional support in their academic classes or has some behavioral things going on, that is where we start. We open that document, we look at their strengths, ways to engage. There's an educator collaboration space there. find out what's working in the classrooms, what are the skills they're still working on, and then we make plans. So that's really exciting.
Can that be edited?
Yes, it's a
Real
Google Doc, it's editable. So in Open Architecture right now, we're hoping to switch the platform. The platform is upgrading. I feel like every week we get some new updated piece, but it's a Google Doc that can be edited and adjusted. You know, because students grow and change.
Learn more about home or whatever.
100% all along the way. So good things happening there as well, and building off of success from previous years, but slowly building. So we do it with the current sophomore class, but we do have a lot of information about freshmen. When our teachers go in and they don't know their kiddos yet, they can get into Open Architects and find out a few things directly from the students, which is the exciting part. It's not something someone else said about them, but the kids are telling us themselves what they need from us. And that's it. Questions you have for us?
What's the process? This may be something I should have asked in the past. What's the process for kind of evaluating your progress on these goals at the end of the year? I mean, you talk to us, we'll see you again at some point, and you've mentioned some of these things, but is there really like an actual accountability cycle where you kind of review at the end of the year and evaluate what progress you made, where you maybe didn't make as much progress as you would have liked?
Sure.
Reflect on that.
Yeah, I think there's different data systems for each one. You heard John talk a lot about the authentic learning piece, and I mean, self-efficacy is our number that we go back to, but there's a lot of, qualitative data that we're collecting too, like the senior exit survey, right? Before students are walking out, we want to know, are they raising up these experiences we're creating as one of the more impactful experiences that they've had here? So that's another benchmark, right? We're regularly engaging with teachers. We know how many people show up to the instructional partners meetup. We have data around how many times every educator goes through that protocol over the course of the year. So that's like that portion of it. We'll have some data around the specially designed instruction and the progress of our students in terms of obviously the MCAS scores and the literacy piece on the district level, but we'll have it for math and some science as well.
We have enrollment targets for our innovation career pathways that are differentiated by different subgroups within the school in order to make sure that we're hitting our targets as part of our grant agreement. So I think every piece of it has its own metric. We keep an ongoing spreadsheet of progress where we track simple color coding, and then also track when the action steps are complete, and then track the impact and the degree to which it was successful after that. So it's one of the tabs that lives pinned on our browser all the time.
A junior internship, we have data on the number of kids out. We have feedback from each of them. So like anytime, let us know. We're happy to share, but yeah.
It's also part of the alignment in the district. So you have the district goals. Obviously, you can hear some of the alignment with the school goals, but we also have my goal that I'll be bringing forward, their professional and student learning goals that they bring forward, which part of that is their school improvement goals too, and reporting out to me as well. And then a lot of their teacher goals are built on the model goals that are built. So you see a lot of alignment there, and that's tracked in different ways.
You guys have been in the district for a while, and I appreciate how much passion you guys bring. It's 8:45 at night. But I guess to rephrase a little bit, what's one of the things that you guys are most proud of that you've accomplished at NIMA?
The bringing about of mastery learning records is unlike anything that I know of any other high school. We're the only public school in Massachusetts. And years ago, when we developed our Forward 15 strategic plan, we started talking about having new metrics of success. We talked about how our kids are much more than their numbers. That doesn't say that grades are not important, report cards are not important, but our kids are human beings with interests and passions and curiosities. And our job is not just to get them an A or a B or into college, but to help them to feel, we always say, confident, capable, and happy in the world beyond school. The Mastery Learning Record is a way that we are taking this durable skill set that the school community said is important for success, and providing students the opportunity in a student-driven fashion to provide evidence, reflect on evidence, develop a personal narrative about their strengths, their curiosities, who they are, a recognition of where they are strong, but also a recognition of what they need from a community. All of us in this room have a different, I'm going to call it a portrait of a learner heat map. We're not all just sitting there proficient. We have people who are more empathic. We have people who are more analytical. We have people who are stronger leaders. I want to honor that in our kids. And we have in this district a top leadership, a building leadership, and an army of teachers who have the capacity to help kids develop their story in 12 or 13 years of intentional learning experiences connected to the real world. That's my whole reason for living right there. And the mastery learning record is not just.
I was gonna say, like you was expecting it.
Oh, anytime you ask it.
The mastery learning record though isn't just a portfolio, isn't just a school project. It is a record that embodies the spirit of our kids. And if we can take that and do that through the curriculum, through the extracurriculars, and at the end of 12 years, send students off with a strong sense of self and positive personal narrative, we've done our job.
Well, it's also, I love talking about this, so I'm not gonna belabor the point, but it's the idea that because they've come up with that themselves, because they discovered themselves, they go, oh yeah, that's what I should be doing. Instead of saying, I'm gonna go through with whatever they're telling me to do. So it personalizes the learning experience, which
We're not there yet, I'll be frank. We're figuring it out, right? We've had a lot of years of pilots and it's tough work and assessing durable skills and giving feedback and getting organizational wide commitment to this bigger vision. Doesn't happen overnight. That's why we're grateful for the support we've had, the long range planning and the strategic plan that values the stuff, that gives us space to work on it, because every year we're getting a little bit closer. And the proof of concept has been really exciting.
And we're not going in with it.
Oh, that was great. Thanks, John.
Sorry.
Okay, fine.
Do you want to follow up with anything?
No, you said it all. Said it all.
Anything else, guys?
Good. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
guys.
Yes, and vote.
No, oh,
You can, we can take action just to approve.
is there a motion to approve the Nipmuc School Improvement Plan?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Cool. All right. Moving on to school committee subcommittees. Budget committee, first meeting scheduled for next Wednesday, October 8th. Everyone, I'm sure, is looking forward to get into budget season. Policy subcommittee, Vicky?
Yeah, we met, prior to this meeting, and so we have, for you for a first reading, policy CTE, which is addressing the, technical education, so just talking about how we will provide middle school students with access to the different, secondary and post-secondary options.
Not related to concussions.
No,
Right.
Differences, I know. Career technical education.
See?
I know. It's a good question. Definitely. We have a deadline, just so you know, for November 1st to submit this to DESE. So we did a first draft. We're still getting feedback from others because there's a template, but not a model policy. So we're working through from input from other districts, but what you have before you is that first round of drafts, so you can start to become familiar with it.
And just to clarify, it's not policy number CTE, it's the CTE policy, which is confusing because we also have policies numbered with letters like that.
Yes, good point.
You got 3 days.
I was gonna say, I don't know if we're in the
In the
seeds,
seeds,
though,
yeah.
like. We just finished the
We
weed.
finished the seeds.
All right, negotiation subcommittee, it's not a negotiation year, so nothing there. Superintendent eval subcommittee. First meeting scheduled for October 14th. Dr. Cohen's goals will be shared. Yeah, October 20th school committee meeting, that is not the next, but the next. Capital planning ad hoc. with the focus on the building committee work, the capital planning ad hoc committee has not yet scheduled any meetings, so very much into the building, so. Other matters not anticipated by the committee chair, by the committee within 48 hours of post meeting. I don't think there are any future agenda items. Elementary and Misco middle school improvement plans, superintendent goals, student support service updates, and technology learning and innovation update. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.